This is a PokePress special report. Hi, I'm Stephen Reich here at the Poplar Creek Library in Streamwood, Illinois at one of the Pokemon Trading Card Game City Championships 2011-2012. I'm here with Matt Elvis, who is one of the top 4 competitors at today's tournament in the Masters division. And Matt, first of all, we had a little bit of question. What's the deck you decided to run today?
The deck I decided to run was Electrode, Terrakion, and Kyurem.
And what's the basic idea? Now, you have Electrode. It's the Electrode Prime from one of the Heart, Gold, Soul, Silver family of sets. And it's got the Energy Might. What exactly does that do for you?
Well, the idea is basically you get Electrode out, and then you use Energy Might, which knocks out the Electrode and allows you to look at the top 7 cards of your deck and choose as many energy cards as you find from the top 7 cards, attach them to your Pokemon any way you like, then discard the rest. So it basically acts as a way to, accelerate the energy and get off to a quick start with the other Pokemon in the deck, Terrakion and Kyurem.
And then Terrakion. Now, there actually are a couple of them. You've picked the one from the Noble Victory set. What does that have going for it?
I picked this one basically because it's just a very, very good card. It's got a attack that does 90 damage for 2 energy after a knockout, so it's a good way to respond. It's got a lot of HP. It's got a pretty good weakness. Not a lot of things are going to 1-hit KO it. There's not a lot of grass out there. The only downside is it's big retreat cost. That's pretty much it, though.
And then you've got Kyurem, which is it's the new one. It's also in the Noble Victory set, and it's a dragon type in the games. It's actually an ice dragon. It's got Outrage, which does the 20 plus however many damage cards are on it. But then it's got Glaciate, and that's sort of a spread attack. How does that pair up with Terrakion?
Well, to be honest, the synergy isn't obviously there. I think both of them are just very, very good cards. Ideally, what you want to do is be glaciating by turn 2, and you start spreading damage, and that puts your opponent kind of on the defensive position. They have to kind of react to that, and somehow, whether it's just going through the deck and find Eviolite or just going after the Kyurem, and you have Terrakion to come back once the Kyurem's knocked out. I guess a way you could say there is some synergy is that you set up a lot of things with Glaciate for 1-hit KOs with Terrakion. If I could point out any one big flaw in the deck is that you don't have the ability to really 1-hit KO anything because you sort of max out at 90 damage with Terrakion, and you kind of max out on damage with Kyurem, obviously, unless you have a ton of damage on Outrage or for Outrage. So, that's basically how they work together.
And you mentioned a couple of your supporting cards. What else do you have for trainers and supporters? And do you have any special energy cards in this deck?
You play Rainbow Energy, 4 of those, obviously, because you have the 2 different types, water and fighting. But then you just have, basic water, basic fighting. As far as trainer cards, it's pretty standard. You play 4 twins because, obviously you blow up the Electrode early and then you fall behind prizes. That allows you to use twins. That's one of the reasons the deck is so good, is because gaining control of twins against a lot of decks is huge. A lot of stage 2 decks, a lot of Vileplume decks, if they can't use twins, they can't set up. So when you take advantage of that, it really hurts them, hurts their setup. But otherwise it's pretty standard. You play Eviolite, that kind of acts as a counter for other Kyurem decks, and it's just overall a very, very good card, and you'd play it in most decks like this that run basic Pokemon.
What type of decks in the metagame is it good against?
Honestly, it's pretty good against most things. I think it's a good choice now, at least in the areas I've played in, which is Florida and Illinois, that there's a lot of Zekrom, a lot of Magnezone, and Electric, so the Terrakion's obviously a good choice there. You have the weakness, and then the Kyurem's also good against Typhlosion. It's just good in general, so it does pretty good against most decks.
What are the few decks that it does have a hard time with, and how do you adjust for those?
The deck it has probably the most trouble against is Durant. And I think a lot of decks have trouble with that as well. Like I said, the inability to 1-hit KO things is big, and if they're able to get an Eviolite and a special metal on the Durant, then you're not going to be able to 1-hit KO it with Land Crush. So you kind of run into some trouble there. If you don't get a fast start against Durant, and a lot of times you got to accept that you're going to have to use Electrode and you're going to have to blow up and discard 7 cards off of your deck on your own. You kind of just got to accept that and kind of just hope to get that quick start, because if you don't, you're in trouble. So Durant's tough. Also, any deck with kind of Virizion can be a little bit tough, although that one's not horrible.
And during the top 8 round, you had a chance to play against another very similar deck. This is called a mirror match in the parlance. What was that like, and how did you kind of work your way around that?
Honestly, I never played it before, which is kind of surprising because I honestly think this is one of the best, if not the best, deck in the format. So I'm surprised there isn't more of it out there. So this is actually the first time I played it, and really you go with the same strategy, from the beginning. Is you just try and glaciate as soon as you can. A lot of it comes down to, in the end, you're doing a lot of math with Outrage and adding up that, and there's sometimes a lot of passing going on where you don't want to attack, so you don't want to put Outrage damage out there. And both decks are going to play 4 Eviolite, so it can be a little tricky, I think, in the end with Outrage, and sometimes I think it's going to come down to the player who just kind of hits all their catchers and then finds their Eviolites.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Matt, for giving us some insight on this deck. This has been Stephen Reich from the Poplar Creek Library in Streamwood, Illinois, at one of the Pokemon Trading Card Game City Championships 2011-2012. This has been a PokePress Special Report.